Welcome to the morning show. I'm Leonard Duncan, your host. Hey, we need to thank Elka Suspension for always being here with us. I normally have a co-host with Joe Tolle and other guests on the show. It's just not working out right at the moment for me. We have had some issues with some things going on in my personal life that caused me not to have shows uh, for a while here, and I just wanted to explain all that before I get going here this morning. Um, the My wife got in a big car accident and took me away for a little bit. Just, we had some personal distractions, and I just want to apologize for everybody for not consistently having the show. Everything is turning out okay with my wife and the deal. But in the chat today, I would really love some backup here with your ideas and where you want to go with the industry and some of the aftermarket like things you'd like to see. We've been talking about catalog builds or internet builds. And Joe and I hashed out some uh, different ideas on those things. And I don't want to cover it up with just my biases and how I want to do it. I'd like to hear in the chat some of the things from you guys and what you would like to see done or have done so that we can talk about those. A little update on thanking Elka Suspension for always being here, bringing the shows to everyone. And we need to also thank Antelope Slot Canyon Tours. If you're on vacation in Arizona or around Arizona and Nevada, you need to book a tour. Go check out the canyons. You'll be amazed. Ian, thanks for the shout out. It's great to be back. Um, it just life happens sometimes, and uh, you get set up to do the shows or you get set up to do things and it just doesn't pan out. But here we are, we're back, and we're going to talk some ATVs. Supercross was last night in Seattle. Webb won the race. Saxton was in second, and Plessinger was in third. Everybody's favorite Plessinger on that KTM, in the cowboy hat. But my guy's injured and on the sideline, but it'll happen. He'll come back. I like Tomac and Lawrence, but those guys are unfortunately out right now. As we get into ATV MX, I don't know if any of you guys have seen this. Joel Hetrick is on a tear again this year. He's fast qualifier, winning one, Moto 2, running away with it. Bryce Ford is holding down that second spot pretty religiously as well. And then Brandon Hogue is rolling in there for the third spot. Chad Wienen, we all expected a bigger impact from Chad. I think he's knocking off the ring rust, and later in the season will probably come back more developed, faster, and get himself on the podium. He had a fourth and a tenth, probably some type of mistake. Um, yeah, it's just the results are mixed up there a little bit. Some of the guys that I figured would be at the top aren't, and some of the guys that are at the top that I didn't figure them being there. So we'll get into that on our race reports. Cross country, there again, Bryson Neal is setting a pace that doesn't look like anybody's going to beat. He's won another race, which is great for himself, but not so good for the field. Walker Fowler's holding in there, swinging. He's second in points. He's got one win under his belt this year, but it's a Bryson Neal show in the XC1 class. There's actually a duel in the XC2 class between a West Coast rider, Braxton Gross, and Alex Thyman. Alex is last year's champion and is doing a great job this year leading the points, but those guys are out there rocking and rolling. So if you get a chance, check into those two series. On the West Coast, you have the Work Series and you have Logan Huff. He's out there doing an amazing job. He's leading the points. Bo Barron's been the point leader for years and years and years. Travis Damon won the points last year due to some different reasons in the series, but we won't get into that. But Damon's your number one this year, but Logan Huff's leading the points, and we'll see how that breaks down for Logan as the year goes on. He will also be on one of our shows coming up, so check that out. Remember, ATV Talk brings you three shows generally a week. You have your audio show at 5 o'clock on Pacific Standard Time on all your audio platforms. You can get to us Instagram Live on Wednesdays, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And you also catch the morning show Sundays, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Usually we have this, it's a discussion show, and we're talking about all kinds of different things. Um, yeah, Braxton is doing awesome on the East Coast in the GNCC series. The track was dry, fast, hard, and rough. Those are his conditions, just like out on the West Coast. Once you get him out in the dust and the rough, those other guys don't really seem to stand a chance. Add some rain and mud in there, and now it's a whole new world for Braxton, and he struggles a bit. I had him in studio. That episode, I believe, aired last week. You'll get the YouTube version of it probably today. But Braxton was a pleasure having him sit in studio and talk with me. And yes, I'm back. I'm back. 867 Diesel. Yeah, I in the beginning, I hope everybody saw. I apologized for not being here. There were some family issues, but we're getting those worked out. And my wife is okay. There's no problems. She's physically fine. She just totaled a car, and wasn't her fault. It happened in Mexico, so that added some other issues. And if you guys don't know, my wife is a dual citizen. She has U.S. and American citizenship. So yeah, but I want to get back into talking about ATVs. We missed the gals too. The first round of the amateur version of it, the WXC falls under the amateur your deal. Your three-time champ Kinsey Osborne got off really hard. Um, Emma Ray won. She is from Ireland, I believe. If I've got that wrong, somebody please correct me. And you know what? She dominated. I believe she took second in one of the 450A motos. Your WXC gals, man, this class is the class you want to watch if you're into competitive ATV racing. The WXC is awesome. Chloe Harper won her second race for the year. Jessica Elioff has still got the point lead. And Avery Collins, the first year in the in the WXC, she is on a hybrid 250, and she just pulled off a podium. Wow, this young lady is going to be a force to be reckoned with when she gets going. But hey, let's get back into some ATV builds. I know everybody's got their own ways of putting things together. The biggest thing that my biggest question, and I'm throwing that out to you guys in the chat, but I need to know when you were putting a build together, um, what's the reasoning behind going to unproven componentry? And what I mean by unproven componentry is, you see some of the uh, internet builds where they're putting components that come off that you can only buy on the internet, and there's really no substantial backing for them. The quality is generally not very good, and the price is cheap. And is that the only reason people are buying those items? Because if it is, we need to go back to quality-based, products. There are a number of, if we're talking 250Rs, there are a number of companies out there that build quality product, and you need to figure that out and go with those quality people. One of the things that's happening in our world is we're getting away from brick and mortar. Well, the problem with that is who you're going to call if you have a problem. So, I know the company that I work for has an extensive customer service line. We answer the phone Tuesday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. We line up the calls and take them as they come. I got a hair here that's freaking in my face. I think it came off my wife when I was giving her a kiss goodbye, because she had to go to school. Um, but that's neither here nor there. I'd like a little help in the chat if you guys would give me some insight to these, where this product is coming from. Why are we reaching out and buying unproven stuff instead of going with your mainstays? And look at your mainstays. If you aren't checking the resume of the company that you're buying from, you have a problem. because they're not that good. Um, and it's tough. It's not really tough to look up resumes or look up history of companies, and there's a number of different ways to do this. But 50 Magic, good morning. Thanks for checking in. I'm glad to be back. Um, you know, I'm trying to read the chat and talk at the same time, so I'm sorry if I'm stuttering. Um, Well, building for less and bragging about it isn't something you should brag about, because when you're not spending the right kind of money in the right place, you're buying twice, because the stuff that you're buying cheap is going to break. It's going to fail. And it's not quality. The ride's not going to be as good. The power's not going to be as good. I mean, and it's a proven fact. You have proven companies that build quality stuff. And if we don't stay with those companies, or don't keep some of these knowledgeable people around doing these things, you're not going to have anybody. You're not going to have anybody to go back to. I mean, that's just the facts of it. And then there's some guys that they call that are, mainstay guys that are supposedly been around forever, and they're brand new. Never heard of them. I mean, who are these people? Um, I mean, I've been around a long time, and I know a lot of names, and I've met a lot of people. Some I like, some I don't. Some I agree with, some I don't. And I don't, just because I disagree with them doesn't mean they're bad. I mean, there's 100 different ways to skin your cat. You can skin it any way you want, but there's proven methods that work. And like when I get to work with people and I talk to them about how they're doing things, I lay that out for them. Um, I lay that out for them so that they understand that the way that I'm teaching them is my way, because that's proven. Once you've mastered it, you can do anything you want, because then you know the ABCs of it. And once you get the ABCs down, if you want to change a method and how it goes together, go right ahead and do that if you feel more comfortable with it. The tools you use, um, we don't talk about that enough. The quality of tool you use. Uh, how many guys out there in the chat are using a torque wrench to put things together? I mean, really, come on, guys. Don't lie to me. Just put it out there. How many of you are using a torque wrench? Because if you're not, you need to go buy one and get the manual out and get the torque specs and follow them, because they're in there for a reason. And granted, I started in my life using a torque wrench, went away from a torque wrench, and came back. I told the story many times about going to a Supercross race in Vegas, and this is when Ricky Carmichael was riding Hondas, and the Honda mechanic put the front fender on with a torque wrench. You're thinking, well, it's got a collar there, it's got a 6 millimeter bolt. Why do you got to torque it? Well, because you are doing it with factory components. What is this? eBay shocks are $200 and PEPs are 3,800. I'm not a huge, I mean, I like Wayne, and there's guys out there that say his shocks work, but dude, your $200 eBay shocks ain't gonna work. I'm sorry, they're junk. Okay, I understand your pride build for less, but um, explain that in a different form, because building more for less with poor quality parts isn't building better, and we want to build better. So yeah, I do have a different perspective on it. I'll bring up Ian in the chat from Square One Speed. I do have a different perspective of it. I don't ever look at the dollar figure. I look at the quality, period. I mean, it's just that's where I break it down. And maybe maybe it's a different place for me to be in, because of the years I've spent. Maybe I've dealt with so many machines breaking because we used unproven parts. Um, so I get saving a buck, but let me put it back to you this way. If you're building a machine, let's say you're going to go buy your wife a car, or you're going to put your wife in a car. Are you going to put her in something that you saved a nickel on, or are you going to put her in something that you paid the price for the quality car? I mean, that's how you should build your ATV. You're going to throw your leg over this, man, and you're going to go ride it, or you're going to let your kids ride it, or you're going to let your wife ride it. And if you bought the cheapest part, and I'm not talking about buying a good part and refurbishing it and it's usable. I'm talking about buying quality parts. If you're going to put your loved ones on there, do you really want to put the cheap China shit on there? Excuse my language, and have it break and have them get hurt? I mean, that's where I'm coming from. So, Ian, I really appreciate that difference of showing me the different side of it. I struggle to understand that. That's why I ask, and I appreciate you putting that in there, and we can have deeper discussions on these things and why it's done that way. You know, I just don't I just don't understand it, because when you compare A to an A, it's equal. If you compare an A to a Z, it ain't equal. And that's just the way it is. I don't make the rules. I just have to live within those confines. But that's great. I appreciate the movement in the chat, and 867 Diesel. I didn't see your comment. I missed it on the torque wrench. Um, you know, you'll have to re put that in there and go from there. It's something that we need to talk about and go from there on what he's going to say. Yeah, the quality will prove itself throughout its use. Problem is, some of these things are so bad the first ride, you're starting to have a problem, or it affects your overall ride or your overall reliability. But I get it, it's a good point. You got to go out and prove it to yourself. And that's what we're built on in this country is going out and proving yourself with a specific product, or specific products. You're slowly building your own brand and your own knowledge, and that's a key point. I don't know if that's where Ian was going with that, but it is true. You have to decide where you want to be and what you want to do with it. And that's great. I mean, I don't want to discourage anybody from building. I just want them to look at all of their options closely and do a little bit more research, because I may not be the flavor of the month for everybody, and that's okay. I mean, I'm not telling you that I'm the only guy out there that knows how to build an ATV, because I'm not. There's multiple people out there that are quality and good. Um, we just have to make sure that we're investigating the product a little better, because you know, there's some stuff getting advertised that's just horrible. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it does take a little longer to build your machines. 5.0 Magic says, you may have to take more time to build it because it costs more. You got to save up for that part. You got to, you have to make sure. I'm in the same boat. I do some builds myself, and I just don't have the funds to just run out and go buy the A level parts. I have to save up to put the componentry on there. And most of you guys in the chat know that I'm pretty biased. I'm going to use the parts I'm going to use, and I'm just not going to cut and use anything different. Uh, I mean, period. It's just the way it is. And I'm not saying that's wrong, and I'm not saying that's the only way to do it or the only right way to do it. It's just the way I choose to do it. And examine your hardware really well, so that you don't go buy aftermarket hardware or by using the OEM hardware that it has a defect in it. Generally, your Honda, Yamaha stuff will outlive the machine twice, sometimes three times. But you just still have to, when you're doing a ground up build, you still have to make sure that that's in good condition. There are a couple bolt kits out there that I've seen. I'm intrigued by a couple of them, but I haven't got them in my hand, and I will. Um, we're working with some engine bolt kits that we really like the quality of the hardware because it's strong, like the OEM Honda stuff, and it's shinier, it looks better. You're not having to go through extra processes, and it's reasonably priced. Because you guys have heard me say on the show, Fuji hardware is probably the best hardware that you'll ever buy in the industry, and you can't buy it. It's almost impossible to find. I don't even know if Fuji Hardware is still in business or how they run their company, but it was a setup the years and years ago in Honda. And I could have the story backwards because nobody's ever sat down and really explained it. But there was a company that sold hardware to Honda that didn't sell it to anybody else. And in Japan, that's not supposed to happen. A you're supposed to sell product for X number of years and then rotate. For some reason, these companies, this hardware company, or didn't, or they bought enough product that over those years, Honda could get away with just then coming back and buying from them again. I don't know. I don't know how this story went, but or how it works. Somebody out there knows more about it than I do. It's just one of those things that the quality of hardware that you use, it's like don't buy an American grade 8 bolt and stick it in there because it's generally not that good. Um, sorry, it's just not. You're thinking, what, but it's grade 8, it's got to be the greatest thing ever. What is my favorite machine to build? Or are you asking the chat? Um, wow, that is a rough one because I love a challenge, and a challenge is a machine that I haven't touched a lot. Let's just say LT250 is something that I haven't built a ton of them. Um, it's not really hard to build one, but it's a little challenging because you have to put all the pieces in the right place. Um, Favorite bike to build? I really enjoy building TRX 450Rs, whether it be '04 to '14, it doesn't matter. Um, but then again, uh, we're still building and creating new parts and new ways to work on Banshees, which not a lot of people understand that. And talking about Banshees, there's a lot of junk parts out there for those guys. Feel bad for the Banshee crowd that I mean, there's just some real junk out there, and you got to be careful. But um, LT500s are tough because the hardware is old. There's not a lot of replacements. There's not a lot of guys out there that are making replacement product for it. So that's tough. Ian, that's not a fair question, bro, because I just love building ATVs. So I'm gonna have to tell you that I don't have a favorite. I just love to build ATVs. Um, you know, I'm doing some LT80 builds, and to be honest with you, I'm not happy. I don't like them, but it's not because they put them together so different, and you have to pay attention. Got to have your head right out of your you know what if you're going to work on an LT80, because they put it together a little strange. But it's a great little bike, and it's a great starter bike. I have young grandkids that need to ride these machines, and I have friends that need them, so I'm building them. Thank you. Not my favorite. The old stuff is great. The problem you have with the old stuff is what I talked about earlier. You got to examine that hardware really close. And then when you go to buy parts for them, you got to be careful because there is some stuff sold out there for those machines that it's knockoff, and it's just not good at all. I mean, it's just not. Um, we're struggling with the TRX stuff right now because the parts, Honda's not supporting it anymore. Transmissions, some of the cases. I don't know if there's ever going to be a cult following for them to build billet cases or to make transmissions. It's just not, I just don't see the following for it yet. It may come. It may come. what'll kill it is if another 450 comes out from a different manufacturer. Or, let's say Kawasaki brought out a new machine, then you would not have the same following for the 450R Honda, and be able to recondition them and bring them back to life later on because you're just not going to have the following for it. Your older school stuff is iconic, for guys my age, maybe into the 35-ish range, and up. Some of the younger guys like that, don't even like any of the two-stroke stuff. They don't understand why we rode two strokes until they ride one, you know. Shout out to Adam McGill. That guy does more for spreading love for the two strokes and the 250R era, than most people, you go back to the GNCC, I think he brings them with him every time just to display them, just so people can see what they are, and they ride them as much as they can. Um, it's an industry that I think is going to continue on. If we could figure out the brain box for them, that would help. But that being said, Ian, you're relatively young in this sport, and 5.0, you've been around a little bit. I know you're building an LT, excuse me. What are your guys' favorite builds, and what do you see as some of the potential problems? That's throwing the question back out at you, even though I, did not want to read yours, answer yours because I can't. I can't. No, 250R is not a cult. It's a belief in an ideology. Well, I guess you could say it's a cult, but it's a belief in an era of time when it was a better days type scenario, when things were simpler because the build is simpler. It's an easy machine to work on. Quality. That's why there were so many people working on 250Rs at that time, because if you did it wrong, it still ran. And trust me, there was a lot of guys that do it wrong, and it still runs, and it still goes fast, and it still lives. It's a testament to Honda quality. I know people get sick and tired of hearing us say that, but um, Honda quality is just back in that era. I know we were having a chat where we said something about modern day Kawasaki motorcycles being poor quality or less quality than the uh, old 250R stuff. You're going to have to move that because you're not going to be able to get by it.
Okay.
Well, I guess you are. Okay. Pops is going out in his workshop, so I blocked his door. I didn't know he was going out there today. So, you know, bad on me. But we uh we have to look at so much of this, you know. Yeah, I don't understand that, but okay. It I lost my train of thought a little bit. Sorry about that. Um, the 250R days were so iconic, and they're so cool, you know. It's I miss those days. I miss those days because it was just a simpler time in life, simpler time in racing. Maybe you know less, so your thought process is smaller. There's less bikes to work on, you know. It is what it is, you know. Um, LTR is a really cool deal. You'll get to see one of mine come out in dirt wheels here soon. We just put it together. It's an awesome little bike. Uh, their LTR is not overrated in any way, shape, or form. In some ways, it might even be underrated. Um, if they would have kept making it, the YFZ 450R might not be as potent or as large as it is. So you should be pissed at the government for getting involved in that and disallowing that LTR or causing Suzuki to stop building it. Um, But that there again, thank you government for getting involved in screwing it up. Same with the two strokes, the two strokes went away because of the government, not because two strokes were bad. There's so many things we can get on. We can get what support is missing for LT 250s. Well, you have the same problems with the LT 250s as you have with LT 500s. The cases are poor quality. You're going to need to have somebody's probably going to have to come up with billet cases. I haven't seen them. If they're out there, correct me, please, because I would love to see them. Transmission components are the same issue. You can't buy the stuff. So you're going to have issues with that. And um, plastics, you can buy some aftermarket stuff. Same with all the other models. You only get plastics. There's nobody out there building quality suspension components for the LT 250s. Um, I don't know why. You can buy some Elk shocks, but your A-arms that you buy for that thing are just crap. Sorry if I'm offending somebody, but truth is the truth. The hardware doesn't live as long with a Suzuki, so you have to go to aftermarket or find OEM hardware. So some of the pieces aren't just as easy to come across. There are cases for the LT 500. Well, 50, you need to send me the link in my DMs, please, because I can't find them. Send me pictures on that because I have not seen them. I'd love to see them. My brother and I would really like. Metal Tech makes high quality arms. If you think that's true, okay. I'm not going to argue with you, but I'm not going to put them on anything I'm building. Um, that's if somebody wants long travel arms or different arms for their LT, I would definitely want to build them and set up and get away from the LT 250 spindles, hubs, and brakes. I don't like them as much as I do some of the other models. Maybe upgrade them to LTR, which is outstanding. You can buy everything aftermarket for the LTR stuff. You can even buy some um, YFCR, LTR configuration or geometry spindles that use LTR hubs and calipers. You can buy those. Those would be a great adaptation if we were going to do that. If we're going to build A-arms for that application. I know they're doing some stuff with Banshee that will probably come out that will use a YFC style spindle that'll be LTR configuration to get them to turn better. Um, the suspension upgrades for those are outstanding. We don't have the same suspension upgrades for the two models that you guys are wanting to use. Um, Z400 stuff, I would probably use that. I mean, that wasn't bad. The frames were junk, but their hubs and calipers, it gets them new at least. And yeah, I would do that. I just probably wouldn't use those A arms. I would have to figure that out. No offense, I've touched them and I just don't like them. And maybe that's just my biasy. So you'll have to excuse me and give me some grace on that one. Um, I'll have to look that up from him and check that out. Sorry for the dead spots when I'm trying to read. My partner that's supposed to read some of this to me is not here, and she's upstairs sleeping. And that's my daughter Valeria. She's supposed to be the one reading the chats and giving me the good talking points. But yeah, I'll check into that stuff, guys, and I will definitely get back to you on all that. And I will uh, for a four-wheeler guy, I will look into A-arms that I like, and I will definitely get back to you on that. Um, and so that we can move forward with a positive instead of leaving it at a negative. I hate leaving things at a negative. Just not. I just want to, do my due diligence and do more of my homework. because we build our most of our Suzuki stuff runs a standard style front end on the 500s. We just did one with an aftermarket front end. Wasn't 100 with I wasn't happy with the componentry, wasn't unhappy with the componentry, just yeah, okay, if that's what the guy wanted, and because we didn't have a better option, we used it. So I will definitely do my due diligence and go out and get educated on that a little more for you guys, so that there's no gray area there, and maybe we can have a in-depth conversation about different manufactured arms for the Suzukis, and make it make it make it a little better for everybody, including myself. So I don't know how long that'll take me. I do apologize. I'm always up to my skis and over busy, and that happens. But yeah, I think that's great. I appreciate you guys in the chat rattling my chain and having me check out more stuff and go from there. What do you guys think of the Mayer plastics for the 250 and the 500? Um, I like them actually. They're not as brittle as the OEM stuff, and I mean there is going to be some failure rate. We build or we use or I use some collar style bolts that are flange so that it gets a bigger pattern over the plastic and doesn't allow it to crack as easy. Even with the OEM stuff, it works to a point. The Mayer stuff in new form doesn't seem to have as big of a failure rate. Maybe as it gets older, it'll get brittle and then it'll cause a problem. But for the 2 or 3 years, I already got his number. I don't need his number. Um, uh, the These are things that you know that I do. I'm trying to read the chat again. Sorry. Sounds like I'm wandering off into uh I'm starting to wander off into nowhere land. Well, the chat's doing really well, and I'm trying to keep up with the things that are being said there. So I keep the conversation, accurate. And you know what? I don't disagree because the factory stuff for Suzuki was good when it was new, but as it gets older, it gets too brittle and breaks too easy. I think that they lost something or changed something in the way they put the plastic together. That so happens, and with so many things that we use, it gets overregulated, or they want to lower the price to save a nickel, and then the stuff turns into junk. So it happens. But I really appreciate what you guys are doing and giving me some good intel, things to look at. I am always looking for growth, and I gotta grow in that department with, being able to find those cases, check them out. Probably we'll get a set and do our own evaluation on them. Just like with the Billet 250R cases, it took a number of tries before we found a product that we could use. Um, had to make modifications to make them better. Um, it's not, we don't publicly put that out, that when we get a product that we like, 80% of it, but then we have to modify the other 20% to make it correct. Um, it is what it is. A lot of the product that you get, sometimes you do have to make modifications to make it yours or to make it function the way you want it to. That's where time spent, years of experience in building engines and putting bikes together makes it that way. For the guys that have used the billet stuff, do you have a problem with the weight factor with any of the frames, the older frames having an issue? Um, More than I can count on the cases. Um, because now what you can do, you could order a complete 250R engine from me, a complete aftermarket 250R engine. You can order it a complete, and we can build you a complete 250R motor aftermarket, and it's good quality stuff. Probably better. It's heavier. So, I mean, that's why I asked the question about the stock frames and these billet motors, because they're heavier, and it's kind of an issue. Um, Yeah, I want to give my opinion on those cases, especially the 500s. And I think somebody will probably make 250 cases that would help the 250, but there's so many other deficiencies in that 250. For its era and time, it was good, but with all the developments that have been made for 250Rs, they didn't make them for the Suzuki 250. And that hurt it. Even when they did aftermarket frames, they never did it right, or they never finished the testing, or they never finished the development. So, I don't say these things to be, try to offend or hurt somebody's feelings or make them feel bad about it. I'm just telling you the facts. I mean, if I'm going to do it, it's got to be a certain way. And, yeah, because the black is a shiny, gloss style. It's almost meant for a showroom style look that you never ride. I get it. Totally get it. You can't even take it out of the bag until you're ready to roll it out to the customer. Because if you do and it gets dust on it and you wipe it off, it scratches it, and then you've ruined the finish. Um, so that I totally agree. The red has the similar issues because it's a problem. Uh, Ian, that's a difficult question to ask because you haven't asked enough questions. Um, if you're going to use the stock cases with the stock transmission, you don't want to go over a true 305. And guys, do your research on bore and stroke when you tell somebody you have a 310 because you're lying. You don't. Um, the true 305 is this PC cylinder that my brother builds. It's Nikasil hard coated, it's solid aluminum, and you can run your stock clutch, your stock heavier duty springs, obviously, and your stock transmission. Works really well. It's super reliable, super great power, fun to ride. Um, and it's not, you're not building it for drag, you're building it to go ride it. And you got to have fun. Just remember, everything that is performance based needs better quality fuel, not that crap that's sold at the pump. And if you guys would read the pump and realize that just because you're buying 91 doesn't mean you're buying 91. It says that on the pump. And it's water and chemicals. There's no basis for a consistent burn or a burn that's not going to cause you engine failure at some point, plus the deterioration of the carburetor that you're putting it in. If it's fuel injected, that's a whole different ball game until you start raising the compression. But there again, it's just one man's opinion. I don't have scientific terminology for you. I have layman's term from working on the shit all the time. And gas is something we could have a discussion about it, but you have no bullets in your gun to discuss it with me. So I don't even want to get into it. Um, there's a lot of great stuff has come out of this conversation. And I appreciate you guys in the chat for being there and helping direct me. Um, it's just like 250R suspension and chassis. We talk about that the most when we talk about some of these old builds, but when you put good suspension on a 250R and go ride it with a great power plant, that is a fun machine. Um, we just did some testing with our Banshee stuff, and there's new developments coming for that. Um, you may see some new developments with the LT500 stuff coming from us. Um, well, gradually, build by build, it'll come out. Um, we're working on a 250R, I mean, an LT 250R. So that may be more of a basic style build. Um, we have the mid-range pipes and silencers available, but we have a couple high rev pipes, that are coming out for specific use. Um, those will hit the market here soon, or well, they'll go right to the individuals that purchased them ahead of time. But yeah, it's just we're trying to develop and keep going with this stuff. We do apologize that some things we just can't build them as fast anymore. Uh, are those the 500 cases you're talking about? 50 Magic? Um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't follow much that he does. You know, I'm, but there again, biases against the way certain people do things. If I don't like what they're doing, I just don't pay attention. Probably that's not the negative way to look at it. Sometimes you can always learn, even from somebody that you don't like the way they're doing it. You can find a technique or something that they're doing that you like, and you can adapt it to your ways. I mean, that's how evolution and putting machines together happens. Is you do the way you do it, and then you see somebody do something else, and then you adapt. I'll be checking into it 50 and then let you know what I think. It's going to take some time because I can't do an evaluation, or my brother can't do an evaluation instantaneous. Um, just like everybody else, you got to budget it out and then work the time to make it happen and go from there. So we can uh, we can do what we can do and um, let you know. Same with the suspension. If you guys have something different out there for the Suzuki models, I'm willing to look at it. I just have not found my guy yet. Roll Design won't build it because it's something that he doesn't deem that there's enough to build for. And that's my guy. You know, I would prefer that, but we'll figure something out. We'll find out what we can do and how we can do it, and if I can help or if you guys can help me, that'll be great. And it just improves the industry because that's all we really want is the industry to improve and for everybody to be able to build the quality machine that they want, whatever brand it is, and I used to be just a die-hard only Honda guy. I'm not that guy anymore. Unless you're talking about an orange bike, I'm not going to have anything to do with them. But Suzuki's, Kawasaki's, it's rough with the Cowies because they don't really have much to offer you. The Ducati three-wheelers, were fast, but they're poor quality. Yeah, and there's guys out there that'll argue about that. Yeah, they would be sick, 867 diesel, but they're just never gonna happen. They're so Doug Roll has gotten so deep into developing suspension for Elka, for UTVs, and doing ATV development that um, we'd probably struggle to get if a new machine came out, we'd probably struggle to get new ARMs for that out of him. But you know what? I don't think they would come because you guys are really, please excuse this when I say this, and I know I'm going to get hate for it, but whatever, I'm going to say it anyways. The LT 250 community won't spend the money for roll design. It's too much money, because then he's going to attack the rear and adjust the rear, and you're going to develop your whole package into a super high dollar system, and I just don't think that the LT 250 community will go there. Um, I just don't. Maybe I could be wrong. You know, the 250, the LT 250 community said if you build pipes, we'll buy them. Well, they bought a few, but they didn't buy the numbers they said they would. You know, the ATC 250R community. Now those guys, let's pat them on the back. They said we build it, they'd buy it. We built it, they buy it. They buy it faster than we can build it today. And ATC's, 250Rs haven't been built forever, and I'm still selling ATC 250 pipes faster than I could build them. So, um, and the show's not supposed to be about where I work when I'm not here. But it sometimes rolls over into it. And you know, great chat today, though, guys. Really, it's a great chat. Please keep the information coming to me. You guys know how to DM me on uh, Facebook or Instagram. You can always send me private messages. You can also, everybody knows how to get a hold of me at my other job. And all of the ATV talk uh, information is there. The phone numbers, the email address, everything's out there, so you can reach out to me. If I'm slow answering an email, it's because most people don't email me about ATV talk. They do it at the other company that I work for. So if you have information or if you have questions or if you want me to look at something, please don't hesitate to reach out and I will definitely get with you. Again, nothing happens quickly, but it does happen eventually, and we'll get you guys taken care of. I appreciate the amount of information in the chat today, and you guys are awesome. Is there anything that I missed or anything that we could cover that you guys would like to talk about on some of these older builds or even the new stuff? I'd love for your input on that, and we can go forward. Maybe we'll get Joe Tolle back on here and get his opinion because him and I definitely differ on how to build ATVs and the products that you should use and why you should use this, why you shouldn't use that. And Ian from Square One Speed brought up that some people like to build under a budget or they take pride under their budgets coming in for less money. Joe totally understands that, and he helps bring a different perspective to it than I do. Maybe we'll get him on there and do this conversation again, and have a great time with the discussion. Keep watching all your channels. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and share as often as you can. The channel needs to grow, guys. So the more people you get it out there to, the more I appreciate it. And we'll see if we can keep this roller coaster going. And I feel good to be back and talking about ATVs. But Tuesday's shows, some of the shows that are coming up for your audio podcast platforms, look for them. I think we have some great guests coming, and I think you're really going to enjoy them. Plus, you can catch those episodes on YouTube, usually 5 to 6 days after they've aired on your audio platforms. And we have more videos coming from going to the uh, uh, the adaptive athletes machine that Ian from Square One put together. We're going to go over there and work on that machine and do some stuff for those guys. And the Silver State 300 that's coming up in May, we'll be involved with that to a point. We're trying to work out the details to make sure that that's happening as well. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff coming. We're hoping to get back east to one of the races, maybe go to a cross country, maybe go to a motocross race. I'd like to go to the Triple Crown at Briarcliff. I go to Briarcliff. If I go every 2 years or once a year, that's great. It's a great facility, great owner of the track. So, you know, that's right. The growth is slow, but it is steady, and that's what we're shooting for. Thanks, Ian. I appreciate it. So, everybody, thank you so much for being here today. We'll have more coming. So, if you guys have seen, we talk about the electric stuff. I'm going to sit down and have a chat with Mike Walsh about his electric quad and really get in depth with it and talk about the pros and cons about it because um, I like the change in the diversity, but I don't like the electric stuff, probably because I'm a motorhead. But That is what it is. So look for that in the future as well. Maybe we can get Mike Walsh to come from the East Coast to the West Coast with it, or maybe we'll have to go from the West Coast to the East Coast and go ride it and test it and check it out. So maybe those things will happen. We'll see if we can get some funding, and see if it all happens. So have a great Sunday, everybody. Thank you for being in the chat. We'll catch up with you soon. Talk to you later.